Hey, what's up, everyone? It's time for Gospel Grit. It's been a while just because of the holiday season, and I'm still planning on doing the marriage ones in the new season. Things kind of just take a break a little bit during the holiday season with so much going on, so we'll definitely pick back up in the new year. But today I just want to do a shorter Gospel Grit, and I probably will keep them shorter unless it's a very good or very long topic, I should say. I pray that they're all good topics. But today I just want to talk about something that I've been thinking about, wrestling with, even in my own heart or in my own exposure of my heart, I guess you could say. And I think it's true of all of us. And it's basically, you are who you are regardless of the circumstance. I think that the Proverbs are abundantly clear that circumstances only expose what's already truly there within us. A lot of times it's not that we don't do certain things because we don't have access to those things. It's that even if we had access to those things, we wouldn't do them, or vice versa. We wouldn't do certain things if we just had that, or we just had this, or we would do more things if we just had that, or we just do this. But what I like to tell people is, who you are with 1 hour of time is who you are with 100 hours of time, just multiplied. So what I'm trying to show there is, for instance, if you don't work out due to a lack of time, because you don't have 1 hour, it's usually the case. If you had 100 hours, you wouldn't do it either. Or the same is true as, well, if I just had more money, then I would do X, Y, and Z. And it usually is the case that even when you have more money, you don't do X, Y, or Z. I don't need to go into huge examples of this. It's just basically a principle that I'm trying to set forth is, you are who you are regardless of circumstance. And so often we want circumstance to change, and we think the circumstance changing will help me to be a better whatever, do that better, to be happier, to be more joyful. And then what ends up happening in life is you see people change their circumstance, but there they are, and they're there as they were when they were here. Even though circumstance changed, they never changed. So regardless of circumstance, they're still who they are. So that's what I'm saying is, you are who you are regardless of circumstance. There's one guy who said this well. He was talking about people who want to take up homesteading, and so they go and they sell their suburban home and they go buy 5 acres, and they go to 5 acres and they don't work 5 acres. They don't even work 1 acre. They don't even work a quarter of an acre. They don't even work the backyard size that they had on the new property, and they end up regretting what they did, because if they didn't do it on a quarter acre, they didn't do it on a corner lot in a suburban home, they're not going to do it when they have more. The whole premise is, be who you are. You are who you are, right? So be who you are where you are, and do that well. Whatever that circumstance is, do that well. Manage 1 hour well. Manage $100 well. Manage a little corner property well. Manage who you are now to the glory of God, so that if the increase does come, it only magnifies and increases your ability to render God worship in those areas, and it doesn't further expose who you really are in those situations anyways. So the only way that you can actually do this, though, because what I'm saying is, you are who you are regardless of circumstance, the only way that this can happen is if you in the equation change. And the only way that you in the equation, not the circumstance, but the equation changes, is if you bring yourself under the authority of another. If you bring yourself under something other than yourself, because you are who you are, unless something outside of you in Christ changes who you are. So it's not circumstance that'll change us, or circumstance that'll bring out the best of us. It's only when we realize that Christ is in this. And I think that's what Paul is getting at when he says in Romans 12, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So what I think that is saying is, when you truly train your mind to think in terms of the lordship of Christ, when you truly get your mind to think in terms of renewal in Christ, and when you see all that Christ has done for you, all that Christ has achieved for you, when you see Christ as the one ultimately who's working in you, when you see Christ as the one who has complete authority and lordship over you, when you begin to be transformed into that likeness, then the you in the circumstance changes. Not the circumstance, but the you in that circumstance, to the point where now your life is rendered as a sacrifice to the Lord, as spiritual worship. So what you need to see is, given my 1 hour, I need to use this 1 hour as a spiritual sacrifice of my body as worship. Whatever that 1 hour is, that 1 hour is now an altar. Your short drive to work or your long drive to work is an altar. Your extra time with the family or your less time with your family is an altar. Your corner backyard in a suburban home or your 5 acres is an altar to render God worship. So it's not circumstance that needs to change. It's your mind being renewed under the beauty of Christ and the glory of Christ, so that all that you do, regardless of circumstance, is changed by seeing it as worship unto God. So what you do with 1 hour, you'll do it with 100. What you do with a little bit of property, you'll do it with more property. What you do with little less money, you'll just do it with more money. If you're not managing these small things well, you're not going to manage the big things well. And the only that can truly change is not circumstance, but it's you. You coming under the lordship of Christ, you coming under the glory of Christ, and you seeing all of life as spiritual worship.